Hey guys, Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics, and let's just jump right into it. So today I want to talk about how to ace your math test. So just a couple just quick pointers, what to do, what not to do, that sort of thing. Some of these things actually I've already talked about in some previous episodes, so I'll reach those in just a second, and I'll put a link for those as well. But the first thing I want to talk about actually has to do with the last video I put out, which is kind of like what to do leading up to the test, called brain dumping. So that's literally the first thing you want to do when you get to your test, is you want to brain dump all those things that you were like storing up. So you brain dump. And actually that was what the video was on, was like literally it was called brain dumping. So that's the first thing you do. You get your test. You write down all the formulas that you had stored in your short-term memory, write them all down, boom, 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 boom. And then the next thing you do is, instead of like everybody else, you know, oh, let's just start with number 1 and let's go from there. Like, no, you want to be smarter than that, right? So, like, and I've said this before, work smarter, not harder, right? And you've probably heard that before, but here's what you do. You skim the whole test, like light skim. Don't like read every problem. Like literally skim it so fast that you're not even like reading it. You're just like do. Like if you wanted to like sometimes, you know, when the terms and conditions, it says like, I have read the terms and conditions, and I'm like, you know what? As a Christian, I feel like if I click this and I don't read it, then that's like a sin. So I should probably like at least skim it, and that way I can say I've like read it, because that's like, but then I'm like like it's way faster than what I could read it out loud. That's how fast you want to go through. Like super fast. Like if you have a test of 20, 30 questions, you don't want to spend any more than a minute skimming the whole test. Like that's how fast you want, just like a light overview. And what this does is your brain is processing these questions in your subconscious to some degree when you look at everything, and you can kind of get a feel for everything, because your brain actually works faster than you're giving it credit for a lot of times. Your subconscious is actually a crazy thing. But anyways, skim the whole test. And then here's what you do. Circle the 5 easiest problems and just kind of get a feel for it. Don't go and like be like, oh, well, I should read it first to figure out if it's really easy. No, I mean, if you're wrong about it being super easy, that's fine. It's not a huge deal. Remember, this is for you. You're not a slave to this method. This method is a slave to you. You are the master here. All right, so circle the 5 easiest problems. Just whatever comes to mind when you're skimming. You're like, oh, you know what? It's like what's 2 plus 2? Like that's an obvious example, obviously. But you know, just look for little things like that, where it's like if the whole test is word problems, like SAT. If it's the SAT and everything's like a word problem, but then this one is like, this is not really a word problem. It's like solve for X or something, and you're pretty good at solving for X, then that would be an easy problem. So go ahead and circle that. And then star the 5 hardest problems, or skip them and go on if it's a computerized test, that sort of thing. Actually, if it is a computerized test and you have to go from 1 to the next, like you have to click next to go from 1 to 2, then this method isn't going to work. Obviously, this is for like paper tests, or a test where it's like you have all the questions all at once. So if this is a computerized test and you have to start with 1 and you can't go to 2 until you like solve 1, then don't do any of this. Besides brain dumping. Brain dumping is always a good idea. But anyways, circle the 5 easiest, star the 5 hardest, and you know, just don't spend too much time doing all of this. You know, it's just kind of like whatever comes to mind. Like, oh, this looks really easy. Oh, ooh, this is like 10 lines. Like this word problem could be really easy, but I have to read all of that. Like, there's like 10 lines of reading. Ugh, that's gross. So start, because even though it could be easy, you have to do a lot of reading first. And so it's just going to take you like 30 seconds just to read the problem. So even if it only takes you 30 seconds to do it, that's a whole minute. You don't want to take too much more than a minute to solve the problems if you can. You want to try to just have the ones that take longer than a minute be the ones that you come back to. That's like the real goal here. Unless you're taking a test and it's like ridiculous. Like for easier level maths, then I suppose, taking less than 30 seconds could be the new norm, or for harder level maths. But I'm thinking like high school range kind of mathematics. So that's usually where my mind is going, is okay, from algebra to calculus, roughly from like algebra 1 to calc 1. What's the general, you want to be able to solve the problem in under a minute. Really, even if it's a calculus problem. And that's why I'm saying like start it if you think you're going to take longer than a minute. And then just come back to it. Do all the ones that take longer than a minute later on. That was my next point. And then the last thing, actually, this is a pretty quick video, is multiple choice first. But that's it. You do the multiple choice. Because that's going to be easier, right? Like if you have multiple choice versus multiple select versus drag and drop, if you're taking an EOC, you're going to have all these kinds of things. You're going to have different types of answers. Multiple choice is still about half, last time I checked. But yeah, if there's multiple choice, that's going to be easier because you can do these things called multiple choice hacks, which I talked about in another video, and you should go check out. I'm actually going to have that in the video that you'll see either, I think it's right here, or right here. I forget which way. Sometimes I get my left and my right confused. But it's going to be in one of those corners, along with my subscriber link. So check that out. That is it for today. Hope that was helpful. If it was, whatever, throw ahead. Go ahead and give a like to the video and subscribe. And you know what? I have this awesome guide. It's called the 5 Math Mistakes Everyone Makes and How to Avoid Them. It's a free download on my website, myersmathematics.com. I'll put a link in the description below for that. And I'll see you tomorrow for the last episode of my series on test prep.